Wayne, welcome to the show, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks very much.
A pleasure to be anywhere, right? Was it a
Yeah,
Dangerfield that said that?
it is. Yeah.
Congratulations on everything, Wayne. There's so much that's going on in your life, and you sort of put a good deal of it down on paper for all of us to savor and enjoy. And it's a really cool read. Congratulations on it.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. The
Yeah.
20 years in the making, but a little bit here, a little bit there.
20 years in the making, and we've got a nice cover of it here,
Ah, there you
folks.
go.
The Undiscovered Showman, a true story of being almost famous by our friend here. However, you are, because you're revered by those in the industry. Fellow musicians idolize you and your work. You're responsible for so many songs and so much music, and you've had an opportunity to collaborate with and play with and share the stages with some of the greats. How did it get started for you in New Jersey, my friend?
Well, I think it's all started when I was, I think in fourth grade, I was in a choir. Okay. And I dug it. I like singing, and we used to put these robes on, and I used to like being like in the spotlight. 11 o'clock mass. We would like come down from the choir loft, and all the people would be outside. And I was like, I'm digging this, man. So I started my first band in the seventh grade, and went on from there. Professionally speaking, I guess it started in New York City at CBGB's. I was like 16 and a half, something like that, and playing New York. Back in the day before punk rock was born, I was actually in the mix for that. But it all started way young and worked through high school and a couple of high school bands, and then I went into after high school, got into a full-time original band, and then it took off from there. But it's been started out young, started out really young, and I never
Yeah.
stopped.
You did start out young, and I believe that you started out, if I did my research correctly, and I like to dig in deep, possibly in front of the television set, maybe with an accordion, or that's the real beginnings, right, my friend?
Yeah, yeah. My mother is Polish, and she's like, "You're gonna learn the accordion." We had two brothers, and all three of us had to learn the accordion. And Mr. Reebok would come to the house, and then play the accordion, tap your fingers with his pencil. I used to hate that, but yeah. The accordion was my first instrument, and was pretty much made to do that before I could go outside and play. I'd have to practice the accordion. Yeah.
Do you still play it? Can you pick it
Yeah.
up, and are you able to play? Yeah.
Well, I don't have it here, but yeah, I mean,
But yeah.
I put it on. I'm not an accordion player. I play the accordion, same as like the harmonica. I can play what if I sit down and learn something on it. I did put it down on a couple tracks in the New Bordeaux's on a couple albums. There's a couple songs that the accordion's on. I played it, so I still pick it up once in a while.
It's really amazing, Wayne. And for those watching, we welcome everybody watching the Jim Masters Show here with our fantastic guest joining us. From the moment that you saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan's
Oh,
show,
it's yeah.
you really knew you wanted to devote your life to rock and roll, right?
Yeah, it was weird. It's like I can remember I can remember it like it was yesterday. My parents used to watch the Ed Sullivan Show. Me and my brothers would sit around. My younger brother, I don't think he was born yet, and the Beatles came on, and all of a sudden we both ran to the closet and grabbed like these mops and a broom, and we're jumping around the room, and I said, "This is what I want to do. I know what I want. I want to be a Beatle." And seriously, from that moment on, I never looked back. I mean, in my mind, straight ahead, blinders on. That's what I wanted to do, and my whole life up till this moment, I never had a question. Never had a question about wanting to do. I mean, I did a lot of other things to get to pay the rent, but I never cared about any of the jobs I had. I just wanted to continue with music.
What did you do? Did you deliver newspapers? What were
Oh my god.
shovel driveways at
Y
snowstorms
Yeah,
or
yep,
everything? Huh?
yep, I did everything when I was younger, and then when I got to working age, first job was at a car wash. So then I worked at a gas station, then from there I went sales seems to be the thing that keeps it was an easy thing for any kind of sales job. So I was a salesman throughout my whole life on and off. I mean, I played music full time for maybe a period of like 15 years without stopping. And then, in the middle 80s, that the money wasn't coming in. So I got a job selling frozen food out of a back of a pickup truck, like in the boxes,
Yeah.
the shrimp and the steaks. And I used to drive around just aimlessly trying to find people to buy it. And then from there, I went on to payphones. Payphones were a big money maker for me. I used to locate payphones. Remember the payphones? Remember payphones,
Mm-hmm.
folks?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So you
we
just
used
put an
to,
extra dime in, or we'll disconnect the call.
yeah. But there was a private payphone industry, and that was a friend of mine had a payphone company, and he used to pay me just to go out and look for locations. And it was very lucrative. I remember I just drive down the highway. If the gas station, hey, can I put a payphone out there? Yeah, sure. Give me 20%. Yeah, boom, and made a lot of money doing that. And then I went to ATM machines before they were everywhere. I was selling ATM. You name it, I sold it. I sold Craftmatic adjustable beds. I
Did
sold.
you really?
Oh God, that's a funny story. First time I learned, they go, you got to bring the old people a box of cookies. You got to bring them a cookie, So my first job, I knocked on a door. This old guy opens the door, and I go, hey, Wayne from Craftmatic. He goes, I don't want any. He closes the door, and I go knock on the door again. Look, I got cookies. So he grabs the cookies and slams the door, and took my cookies. So I was like, okay, well,
It's rough out there,
what
people.
just
It's
happened?
rough.
Well,
Sales is
yeah.
rough. Yeah.
So anyway, but all through that is like, I couldn't wait to just get back in the studio and do more music. So it was like, no matter what kind of job I had, it didn't matter. I was a draftsman for a while. I was a bartender, as a waiter. I mean, I did anything I had to do, but it was the music that to this day, it's still
The music was always happening underneath while you were
Yeah.
doing all of that, right? To pay the bills.
Yeah, well, see, you would know this, Jim. To people like in our business, the big thing is the big break, the one hit song. All it takes is one song. That's the mantra, especially back in the day when there was record companies. Not so much like now is when you get paid like 0.00 cents a play. But it was like, all we need is one hit song. And that was the mantra. And that's what kept you going. Just that one.
That's a good
hit.
segue. I've asked several of the guests who've come on the show who are in the music world, and I've asked them, obviously the industry has changed greatly, and just the way that it's all done, the way the music's distributed. And how do you feel about that? The then versus now, the pluses of the then, the negatives of then, pluses of now, negatives of now. Everybody downloading. You got to have 1 billion downloads to be able to even get an ice cream cone kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all the changes?
It's depressing as a writer, and a musician. Back when there was when the record industry was a little different, when you had to get a record deal and, you had an actual record company behind you, which is, there's only a couple now left. You sold an album, you made a couple dollars, nowadays. I'll give you an example. We had a song, the New Bardos, the band that I have now. We had a song that had about 110,000 Spotify plays. We made, I think, $210, and it's like we get 0.008 cents per play on Spotify. Nobody downloads music anymore. If they download music, it used to get 99 cents a download. So at 100,000 downloads, we would have had $75,000, to give you an example of the difference. And now with Spotify and just the streaming, it's horrible. I mean, unless you're out there touring, there's no way to make money unless you get, your song in a movie or something, which we do also, but that's a whole nother genre, So,
Right.
all of us are a little older. A couple of guys in the band have their own businesses. One guy's a lawyer, so we really don't get to tour or anything. We're more of a recording band. And there's, aside from Sirius Satellite Radio, which pays pretty good, we're like around the world on the indie charts. We're always, this week we're number 6, I think, one of our songs. But there's very little money. You do it for now. We're doing it, because we can't stop. We're too stupid. We just want to keep going.
So you're not still selling the fish out of
No.
Gone well beyond that, folks.
That was, yeah, well beyond that. Yeah, no,
You
I'm
actually
doing
have.
okay.
Yeah, you are. Well, you started, as you mentioned, St. Mary's Boys Choir in Plainfield, New Jersey, and then you learned the art of singing and began in the bands as early as seventh grade. By 17, full time with
Mhm.
Rockids in New York City, the clubs,
Yeah.
you mentioned CBGBs and Max's in Kansas City, sharing stages with the Ramones and the Talking Heads and Blondie. How cool was that to be able to share stages around the country with folks like that, huh?
The f the weird part about it was we had no idea. We went into Manhattan. I went into Manhattan, and, I walked into CBGB's, I guess it was 1975, don't tell anybody, but, I didn't know what it was. So it was a club that, had bands. So I met this guy named Hilly Crystal. He came out, he was kind of a rough dude with a beard, and he was like kind of disheveled, and he was like, you can come on Monday, man. It's an audition. I just bring the band. So I'm like, okay. So we came in. We had no idea what's going on. The punk rock scene didn't burst open yet. No, wasn't really there. So on a Monday night, audition night, I think the first time we played CBGBs, it was us, the band called Rockids. It was a band called Television. It was a band called Blondie and Ramones. And when we went on last, and all these people were coming to see these bands that were weird, like these guys, the punk rockers. Back then we didn't know what punk rock was. It wasn't even there yet. Really, it was just like a very deep inner. It was a cult almost, and we were like, "What's going on?" But Hilly liked us. We were a rock and roll band, and I was, we were the people liked us that were there, so we were right in, fit right in. Long story short, he had us play. We ended up being regulars. We were playing with the Ramones, the Talking Heads. We saw them the first time. The Ramones the first time. Talking Heads couldn't even play their instruments hardly. And when we first saw them, we were laughing at them like, "Who is this?" And then all of a sudden, it was just the whole scene just burst wide open, and we were part of it. We were, the Rock Kids were included in with the Ramones, the Talking Heads, the shirts, Blondie, all the write-ups in Variety magazines. It was always with the Rock Kids were always in there. But unfortunately, we were the only band that didn't come out with the major record deal because I think I'm looking back, we were just a normal straight ahead rock band. We weren't, you know, the other bands had their own niche. Like the Talking Heads were kind of weird. They had their own thing. Blondie, Deborah Harry, great lady. And the Ramones, of course, were the Ramones. I mean, we didn't know what the hell they were. We're like, whoa, what is this? It's like a wall of sound and 1, 2, 3, 4. And next thing they were playing half out of tune, but there were so many punk rockers. It was like we were in the middle of, which we didn't know at the time, a part of rock and roll history,
Mm.
you know? So
That's
it's
it.
cool.
You absolutely, yeah, you absolutely were. And they
Yeah.
were all right there in front of you, and you were making your way and getting your sound laid down, which I think is amazing. As I mentioned to you guys, you continued performing along the East Coast with the Rock
Mhm.
Kids, releasing two singles on your own label before guys moved on to other things. And then you moved to Asbury Park, good old Asbury Park, New Jersey, and you
Yeah.
formed Oliver's Twist, playing venues like the famous Stone Pony, and that's when you met somebody by the name of Jon Bon Jovi and have had this extended friendship with him, but saw him early on before everything sort of took off. Tell us about that and how that all happened.
Yeah. That was it was funny. I went from one scene from rock and roll history into another scene of rock and roll history. It was bizarre when you think about it. I moved to Asbury Park in, I think, 1981. And I lived in a little hotel room called, I think it was the Jefferson Hotel. It's not there anymore. It's like one room, no air conditioning. It's like, but my girlfriend at the time was a bartender, and she worked at a place called the Fast Lane. The Fast Lane was about 3 blocks from the Stone Pony, another pretty famous room. I mean, there's a lot of big names played there. Um, and she used to work every Sunday. So every Sunday around 10 o'clock. Now, back in those days, 10 o'clock was early. Bands played till 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would go, I get there like 11, maybe 11 o'clock at night, something like that. And there was a band every Sunday. They were booked. They were called Jon Bon Jovi and the Wild Ones. And I wasn't paying much attention to them. I'd walk in, it was an okay band. And then that summer, I think it was summer of '82, maybe. Um, Bruce Springsteen showed up at the Stone Pony every single Sunday, and he played with the band called Cats on a Smooth Surface. He would just jump on stage and he'd play for like an hour. And every time he would get on stage, somebody would come into the fast lane where we were, and Jon Bon Jovi's band was playing. And he wasn't famous at all yet. He was just, I think he's 6 years younger than me. So he's probably, I don't know how old he was, but young. And yeah, there he is. And they would go, Springsteen's playing at the Pony. And then it was almost like they yelled, fire, quick, run. And everybody in the whole place would go, it was like literally nobody left in the club. Zero. Just me, the bartender, Tony Pellegrosi, who was the manager, my friend Eric Hendricks, he was another manager there, and John's band. And they would say, you know what, just forget it. So he'd come over. And the first time he came over, he said to me, he goes, oh man, he goes, you're waiting from the Rockids. I saw you open up for Aerosmith. I love your band. You know, so I didn't realize that he was a fan, you know, at the time.
That was a very good interpretation. Sounds just like him. Sort of that whispery sort of cool as a cucumber sound, right?
Yeah, man, no problem. Yeah. So what we did was him and me and Melissa at the time, rest in peace, he's no longer with us. We would walk from the fast lane about 2-3 blocks to the Stone Pony. We would go get in, because back then everybody was carte blanche. If you're a musician or whatever, they let you in. And we watched Bruce every single Sunday. It happened literally probably eight Sundays in a row. And every time, you know, they'd stop, we'd walk with David Bryan at the time, with John, and they'd walk. It was called Jon Bon Jovi and the Wild Ones. And then me and John, something clicked. I don't know what it was, but something between us clicked, like fast friends. You ever meet like a fast friend? You like, it just kind of boom. Me and him just hit it off.
Right here, Wayne.
There you go.
Jim, that's how it works.
Beers later, right?
Right,
you're buying.
And then a trip to the diner after.
Absolutely, yeah.
2 a.m.
Late night diner, yeah. Pizza burger. So anyway, long story short, we became fast friends, and he ended up, you know, getting a record deal. And I was not jealous. It was weird. I was kind of happy for him. And he would always call me like, hey, man, hey, Wayne, you know, I got this deal. I know what to do. And I would give him advice, you know, and then he'd go on a tour, and he'd call me up from the road and say, hey, man, you know, can you do me a favor? And Dorothea, I met Dorothea, his girlfriend, and he goes, we're looking at an apartment. Can you get us an apartment near the beach? So I'm like, yeah, there we are. And that's in Electric Ladyland Studio. That's a funny story too. Can I jump on that real quick? This is pretty funny. This picture, I got a call from an agent, and this is when John was really famous. It was back after Slippery When Wet. And I got a call. They were doing a commercial for, I want to get this right, I think it was Ever Ready batteries or something. Mm-hmm. And they were looking for a Jon Bon Jovi lookalike to do one of his songs, and just like, I don't know what exactly they were doing, but they were doing a commercial, and they wanted a Jon Bon Jovi lookalike. And I said to John, I said, yeah, they want a Jon Bon Jovi lookalike, and they hired me. He goes, hey man, I'm going into the city the same day you are. You want to come? So he had a limo, so we jumped in a limo, and we went to the Electric Ladyland Studios, and I ended up singing a couple background stuff on I think it was I don't know what Jersey record, maybe, I forget which one it was, but anyway. And he let me use the limo and stuff. And come to find out, and I didn't know this, he mentioned something about Ever Ready using a lookalike of him to whoever, Doc McGee or whatever, and they squished the commercial because he didn't dig it. He didn't want them to use anybody like him. And so it was like a, all right, whatever, you know. It
was close.
Yeah, he didn't really dig that kind of stuff. He was back then. I don't know what he's like now, but back then he was very, very shrewd business guy from a jump. I mean, John was a extremely talented businessman as well as a singer, and he took it seriously. He was never saw him do drugs ever. He liked his beer. And you know, his drink, but I never saw him do drugs. And he was very serious all the time. And slowly but surely he became super famous. I mean, John was probably the biggest rock star in the world, alongside Bruce Springsteen and Michael Jackson in the 80s, like 80s, was that 89, 88, you know, those 4 years. So whenever I went anywhere because me and him got real tight. I mean, tight to the point where he wanted me to find him a house. So I found him his first house in Rumson. And I used to spend a lot of time with them. Dorothea used to call me up when he was in depressive moods and she'd say, "Hey, can you come over and play basketball with John?" He's kind of depressed. I'm like, okay. So I come over and I suck at basketball. You know, I can't play basketball at all, but I try. And John's shorter than me. He's probably like 4 or 5 inches shorter than me, but he could play, you know. And he always beat me, so he's always ended up in a good mood afterwards because we would play, and then he'd beat me, and I would always try to beat him because I'm not. It's one thing that we stayed tight together is I never kissed his ass. I never yesed him. I always told him the first time I saw him singing on a big stage in front of a massive audience, he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to Boston?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he pulls up in the limo. We get into the limo. We go to Monmouth Airport. And we get into Bon Jovi jet. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool, man. This is like, you know, everything you dream of wanting to. That's the cool part and the weird part, because everything I dreamed of wanting to be, John was becoming. You know what I mean? And I'm right there. I'm standing next to him, and we're walking onto his jet. And we're sitting in the jet. We fly to Boston. We land, get out of the jet into the limo. And this is back the Slippery When Wet record. So, I mean, it was almost like being with the Beatles. No kidding. It was like they had a couple hundred kids at the airport waiting for the plane to land with signs and stuff. And we get into a limo. We go to this venue, you know, like a arena type venue. And we get out of the limo, you know, and I always got a pass to walk wherever I wanted. So I was walking, I seen him sing, and he was screaming like I'm a trained vocalist. Like I was trained operatically, like in the choir, and also know my stuff about the singing. So when we got back on a plane, I said to him, "John, you're not gonna, you got to stop. You're not singing right. You got to get lessons and learn how to sing correctly." And I hooked him on with this Kate. I forget her last name. She was from New York. She was a friend of mine's vocal coach. She was like #1 in the world, and I hooked him up with her. And you know, it kept them going because the touring schedule they had, he would have never made it through there without properly learning how to sing properly. It was really bad. But I'll tell you a funny story about that same night. We were coming back on the jet, and I was playing cards with Richie and Sambora, and Tika was in the band still. We were playing poker, and I was like, "Where's John?" They go, "He's in the back." So there was back. It was a G5. I don't know if it's like you can't really, you can stand up, but it wasn't like really big jet. It was a small, like a Lear, almost like a Lear, but a little fatter. And so in the back they had a curtain. So I pulled the
It
curtain
wasn't
back.
Sprint.
Yeah, right, exactly. they had a curtain. I pulled back the curtain, and there's John sitting back with Doc McGee, his manager. And I'm not kidding. There's a stack of money, cash. It was like this up to here. And I look, and he looks over to cash, and he goes, "Another concert, another $85,000 in t-shirt sales, dude." You know, like even back then, he knew
the marketing, the merchandising, the branding,
Yep.
the business,
Yep.
the business part of show business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He kept all his merch, man. He did not miss a beat. And you know, and then from then
You
on,
can
it was
take a
just like,
sip. Go ahead. There's time. You're sharing some great
thanks.
stories. You've
Thanks.
earned that sip.
That's okay. I mean, look at, if it wasn't for John, my whole dream of being a rock star was, you know, was probably becoming a reality kind of, sort of, you know, because wherever I went, because of my association, it was almost like I'd go into this without him, you know, just down in Nazareth Park area. It would be like, I go into a restaurant. It's like, "It's on me. Don't worry about it. Just bring John back when you to a restaurant," you know, and I would. You know, John would call up and say, "What do you want to do, man? I'm home for a couple of days." That guy he toured constantly. So when he came back, it was like, "Hey, Wayne, where are we going tonight?" You know, I'm a big, a friend of mine's got a Mexican, another funny story. It's in the book. My friend's got a Mexican restaurant. Why don't we go there? So he's like, "Is it okay, man? We bring some people?" I said, "Yeah, sure. No problem." So I call up the restaurant. I said, "Tony," I said, "set us in the back." Because back then it was like, you know, he'd get swamped and you wouldn't be able to eat. People just had no respect. They would just like bother him. So anyway, long story short, we're in the back. We finished dinner. the bill comes. It's about $600 or something like that. John picks it up. I go home, sleeping. Next morning, get a phone call. It's Tony. Hey man, what's the food like? It was great. How was the service? Great. He goes, dude. He goes, John left her like a $20 tip, dude. And I go, what? It was $600 check. They left her a $20 tip. I had to go back and give her more money. So back then, John was either he was cheap or he didn't know better. But I had to say, John, dude, you can't leave $20 on a $600 tip, But he was cheap. Like, I remember one time Dorothea was saying to me,
frugal.
All right, we'll say frugal. He's probably not that way now, everybody. So don't panic. Plus, he came from low beginnings, so maybe who knows why. But remember Dorothea, he was working so hard. Dorothea kept saying, "We got to go on vacation. We got to go on vacation." So John's like, you got to remember, everybody. I was there like during the day. I eat dinner there. I kind of lived there for a while. I actually house sat for them a few times. So I was. You could say I was really in the inner circle.
Were you were a friend,
yeah,
but also you were a confidant, and
yeah.
were you like a mentor in certain
I think
ways
I
as
was
well?
in the yeah, I would say yes in the beginning, and then it kind of just reversed roles. You know what I mean? Like he got way up here, and then towards the end, it was almost like he was out of reach and hanging out with like the Kennedys and stuff. You know, so it was like it was a slow moving descent for me, but I think as he ascended, I was left down here a little bit. So it was a weird thing that happened, but it took a long time. I was there for maybe close with him for 16, 17 years, something like that. So,
Exactly right.
yeah, and it was, and believe me, it was a wonderful experience, and he was cool. I mean, he would go on tours like, hey man, he had a studio in the basement. He's like, you want to use the studio? Go ahead. And, all I had to do is pay for his engineer and I'd use his studio and stuff. So he was really cool that way, and Dorothea and I became extremely good friends. I mean, we became like brother and sister. Because when John was away, she's like, she'd call me up, like, hey, Wayne, we're going to see Sam Kinison tonight. And I'm like, okay. So we go see Sam Kinison. Next thing I know, Sam Kinison's coming with us back to the house. So we're down in the basement. I'm like, this is too cool. All this shit happened. This stuff happened all the time to me,
Sam
and then,
Kinison, my God. Did
yeah.
any of the windows crack when he did his bit?
We went down in the basement.
Set off all the car alarms in the entire block.
Well, we went down in the basement of their house. We had a pool table and a bunch of arcade games and stuff. And Sam was known for his cocaine. So he would just dump out this ridiculous amount of cocaine, and just like, it was just great. Now, and Dorothea's never touched it. She was upstairs, and he was like, hey man, are you doing her? Like, what's your story? It's like, we stayed up all night long, and I gave him a ride back to his hotel. And then, that's the last time I saw him. First time and last time I saw him, but it was a great night. I mean, I loved him. He's a great guy. Funny as hell.
Unique. There were certain people that were unique.
Yeah.
Phil Hartman, Jim, what is it? Candy, John Candy, another
Oh yeah.
one.
Yep.
It just they were real standouts and unique. And they were, Phil Hartman wasn't really over the top. He was just so talented on SNL and everything. But Candy and some of these others, they were just really Belushi, very super
too, yeah.
talented. Just certain other things got in the way along the way. How were you able to navigate that world and still come out upright and doing your thing? Because there's so many temptations, so many things that could draw you in and take you down.
I think a lot. Well, listen, I wasn't an angel. I'll be honest with you. I'm not proud to say it, but back then everybody's doing a lot of drugs and partying a lot, and I think that kind of hurt me. I think because I was partying a lot with like the rest of the guys in the band, not so much John. Sometimes John was like to drink and stuff, so we go out a lot. But I think looking back, I did too much partying, which it's in the book. Like if you're coming up the ladder, it's like you got to watch out for that stuff, because what happens is you start having such a great time. Next thing you know, it's like a year goes by, and you're like, whoa, what just happened in that year? and it's a music business. And I think with me, I started partying too much. I was getting my yayas by being John's best friend. So I was having that part of my ego rubbed, so I wasn't paying enough attention to what I was doing business wise. I was always in a band and had music going on, but I think that hurt me more than helped me looking back. Yeah, there you go. But now pretty much, know what's going on. So
You're
it's
right. They
a
sort
lot
of
better.
come,
But
you've
you're
come
right.
through
It's
the
hard.
tunnel.
Yeah, it's
Right.
hard because everybody was doing it. You know what I mean? And it's like, it was like, well, okay, everybody else is doing it. Why not? Even some of the main people like his in John's organization were partying behind it. And he didn't like drugs. He didn't want anybody to do them and stuff. But they were all doing it, including me. Wasn't an angel, like I said. But it was it was a tough thing to. I was having fun and everything was going great as far as I was concerned, but I wasn't paying attention to like my business part of myself. I was still writing songs and singing and had a band going on and stuff, but I was having a good time. It's like a
You
really good time.
you even weigh in on some of the more recent things like Jon Bon Jovi's struggle to recover from severe voice issues and the possibility of that return to touring and performing, right?
Hmm. Well, I yeah, a couple years, was it last year or whatever? I was listening to. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I started listening to some of the YouTube stuff. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? I didn't really know what was happening. But as far as getting an operation and trying to get back on the bike and stuff, it's something that I kind of felt really bad for him in a way, even though it's like he has everything in the world anybody could ever want. But it doesn't matter because I think once you're at that point and you can't do it anymore, that might have really hurt. So it kind of got me a little bit. But I think he's going to do. Knowing him, I mean, when he puts his mind to something, he gets it done. I mean,
Hmm.
it want to learn how to play the piano. Hey Wayne, you know any piano players? Teachers, get him a piano teacher. Next thing I know, 6 months later, the guy's playing the piano like whoa, The only thing he couldn't learn how to play is the harmonica that well. That was a hard thing for him to learn how to play. But yeah, he'll be fine. I think he's going to be fine. He's just that type of person, that he'll get it done.
It's amazing the amount of albums sold and the legions of fans and just like a Billy Joel type still out there doing it and connecting with everybody. It's truly amazing, right? Isn't it?
It blows my mind when you think about it. When was Slippery When Wet? Was 1986, I think. And he's been filling stadiums ever since. It's very rarely I can name them on, one hand. You got Springsteen, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson when he was alive, and now Aerosmith's gone. They're
Mhm.
another, and the Stones. I mean, there's not too
Yeah,
many other groups that can fill stadiums.
right.
You know,
Right,
it
exactly.
it's
And
pretty
Neil
crazy.
Diamond was doing it for a while, you
Yeah,
know, till recently, right? He was, and then they had the Broadway play. Matter of fact, I'm friends with the guy who stars as Neil Diamond in A Beautiful Noise,
really.
who is taking on the role of Neil Diamond, and it was critically acclaimed on Broadway. And now they're touring the country. Nick Fradiani Jr. Um, he won American Idol. He was a couple years back. He won American Idol and went out to LA, but didn't want to really do that whole LA thing. He's much more of an
Mm,
East Coast person. His family's in Connecticut, and he's much more of that. But then this opportunity came to play Neil Diamond on Broadway with
wow.
Neil Diamond and his wife there seeing it. It was incredible, and it wrapped after a good run, and now they're touring the country with A Beautiful Noise, which is quite amazing, but really something. And you've had an opportunity, you've rubbed elbows with, worked with a lot of different people. Look at this shot here.
You
Tell
read
our
the book.
Yeah, tell our viewers who we're seeing here. I'll let you do it.
That's
Yeah.
Roger Daltrey. That's Roger Daltrey. That was in London. I got the chance to be with the Howard Stern show for a week in London. Um, there was a song parody contest. That was when he went from WABC, I'm sorry,
WNBC,
WNBC to
66.
he went to was it K-Rock? He went to
Yep.
K-Rock and they had a contest, a song parody contest. So I
Remember he
wrote,
used to have the show in the 80s too. It was on television. It was the show,
yes,
but it was on TV, and I think Channel 9 in New York carried it
yeah,
late at
yep,
night.
yeah, I remember that.
Mhm.
Yes, he even had the New Year's Eve special. Did you see
Right.
that when he came out on a toilet?
Yeah.
Howard is let me tell you something. Talk about innovative, one of a kind. He was
But he's
definitely
gone
one of
through a
the
whole monumental shift in his life
he
recently
has.
now,
Yeah.
much more spiritual,
Yep.
inspirational, and
Yeah.
but
I
this
haven't listened
this
to him in a
meeting
while.
with Roger Daltrey, huh?
Yeah, that was cool. So I won the trip to London, and the first, I think it was the second day we were there, they had a contract dispute with the Hard Rock Cafe and NEW FM. There was a big thing, so they got kicked out of Hard Rock, and they had to scramble for a studio to do the show. And the only studio they had was real tiny. I mean, you could only fit maybe 10 people in it. So Roger Daltrey was a guest. So I was sitting on the floor, and like Roger Daltrey was like rubbing his knee against me the whole time, so in between commercial breaks we would talk and stuff, and ended up having a pint of beer with him, a
Wait,
pint of Guinness
what?
with him. Yeah, yeah, after the show we went and had a downstairs, there was a pub, and we went and had a pint. It was very cool. I love Roger Daltrey, but Roger Daltrey was there. A funny story about that: Howard had me on the air, and I would have a tape of my band, and all the guests would come, and I'd give them a demo tape. Back in the day, we had to remember the cassette tapes.
Oh,
I would have
sure,
cassette
yeah.
tapes. So and he used to yell at me, "Quit bothering my guests with your cassette tapes." I gave one to Alan Parsons, and then Dee Schneider was a guest. It's a funny story. I was sitting not in that studio. It was the next day. It was in a bigger studio. So we were sitting away from where Howard was, and Dee Schneider comes on to be interviewed, and he looks, and he's like, "Is that Wayne from the Rockids back there?" And Howard's like, "You know Wayne?" He goes, "What the hell's going on around here?" So it was funny because we used to open up for D with the Rockids, and I knew D from playing with those guys and stuff. So that was a funny scene. Then that night, we all went out to a bar, and we got on stage together, and we played a couple tunes. Howard was singing, I was singing with D, and a couple of other people. They had like a band. Howard had some people. I think Fred Norris played guitar, and some other people were playing. And this punk rock band, I forget what they were called, something Sputnik was there, and they threw a beer bottle, and it almost hit D in the head. So he just jumps off the stage and grabs his kid and starts pounding him. Next thing you know, it was like a barroom brawl broke out. Now, being the not non-violent person that I am, I like ducked. Howard ducks. Me and Howard would be hiding behind one of the Marshall amps while this ballroom brawl is going on. So it was funny. The next day, he's like, "Yeah, me and Wayne were pussies. We were just like watching D beat the crap out of those guys, and we just hid."
You know what's amazing is what goes around comes around, because there is that, and there you are with Dee Snider there. There is this whole thing, this trend now, and I don't know if it's to do with social media, try to get likes or TikTok stuff or whatever, where people are throwing things at the performers, and they're
Mm.
getting hit in the head with water bottles and cell phones and shoes. Some really major acts where they're performing, singing, dancing, whatever, sold out crowds, and all of a sudden a water bottle comes flinging against their face or something, and some of them will stop the show.
Mm.
There's a couple who've jumped into the actual group
Excuse me.
to go towards the person.
Yeah.
But how crazy is that even now in this day and age, just to get video or cell phone footage of you doing that, it's really crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Back in the day, the girls used to throw like their panties at Tom Jones. So
Tom Jones, right?
now
Exactly.
and Elvis, they used to throw her bras at him and stuff. But now I don't know, man.
Did you have anything ever thrown at you?
I've had a couple panties thrown at me in my day. Yeah, I have.
Those are
As a matter
not
of fact,
those are
I think
not
it
in
was
the
on.
book.
It was in Long Island. I think one of the
Long Island.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
father's place. I think it was. place called
Those are
Rockids.
not in the book, folks.
No, that isn't in the book. Yeah.
That's not in the book,
Yeah.
but just some really cool shots. Look at this one.
Yeah, that's me and John at Convention Hall in Asbury Park. Um, I got a call from they would always call me. Like if there was a charity event or something, I would always get the call, "Hey, can John do this? Hey, can John do
So you were
that?"
kind of
Can
almost
John
like a manager, a
I
PR
was yeah,
person
I
kind
was
of.
like his personal manager almost, but unpaid. But never asked for it. But anyway, long story short, again, uh it's like, "Hey, they're doing a fundraiser." I think it was for muscular dystrophy or something like that, and they had a
Mhm.
bunch of bands and stuff, and it was sold out. And I called John up. I said, "Hey, man, you feel like that?" He goes, "I'll only do it if you do it with me." And he used to say that a lot. He goes, "I'll do it, but you got to do it with me." And at the time, I was teaching John how to play the harmonica. I was trying to show him how to play. So he's like, "We'll get our harmonicas and we'll play our harps." Excuse me. So I'm like, "Okay."
It chokes you up just remembering it.
It does. So, no, it was pretty cool. I mean, he was okay back then. I taught him a couple of riffs, and we'd do like just a blues number, and he would do. We played harmonica. That was a fun night. Bobby Bandiera was on stage with us, and a few other people from Asbury Jukes. We're in that show. But John would do that a lot. He'd be like, we go out to a club, and the band be playing, and he'd be like, the guys, "Hey, John, come on up and do a song." And he goes, "Come on up with me." Like he always pulled me up on stage with him. Um,
That's
there
so
was a
cool.
there was an incident when he called me. This is a cool story. He calls me up and he's like, "Wayne," he goes, "I know. Remember I told you Bruce used to go on stage every Sunday? Well, he continued that tradition for years. And on Sunday, John was already super famous. It was Pat 1988 maybe, and it was a Sunday night. And he John loved Bruce Springsteen. It was one of his idols. He always wanted to meet him. Never did at the time. Like up until this story, never met him. Like personally met him. So he calls me. I was like, "Oh man, can you do me a big favor? Can you get me on stage with Bruce Springsteen? He's going to be at the Pony with the Cats." Now, my girlfriend was working the Stone Pony, the same person. She was bartending. I got to know Bruce and all those Butch and all those guys at Stone Pony, the owners and stuff, through her. I was on the Stone Pony baseball team, so I knew everybody, and everybody knew me. So I said, "Well, let me make a phone call." So I call up the Pony and I said, "Hey, Butch, Jon Bon Jovi wants to go on stage with Bruce." He goes, "All right." He goes, "Bring him to the side door around 1 o'clock." He goes, I'll have him open it for you, and then we can get him on stage, because the stage was at the Stone Pony it was right next to a side door. Where you can get like from the door right onto the stage. So John and Dorothea came, they picked me up, and I remember it was a Jeep Wrangler, and we drove to the Ponies about 1 o'clock, and we heard him playing 1:15, something like that, and knocked on a door, opened the door. Me and John and Dorothea came in. They were playing, and then as soon as we walked in, they were like, "Thank you, good night," And I was like, "John," I said, "Get up there." So I kind of pushed him, and he jumps on the stage, like he's standing there, and Bruce walks right by him, and it was, I think, Gary Talent was there, and so was the drummer Max, and they walk right by him, and the rest of the band, and they walk by, and I go, get off the stage." He was standing there like a deer in the headlights, didn't know what to say. Bruce didn't even recognize him and just walk right by him. So they get off the stage, they're done. I'm like, "Ah, crap." So anyway, I followed him back into the dressing room, and Butch, the owner, is in his office with Bruce and Jack, the other owner. So they were talking. So I went into the office because I knew him very well, and I introduced myself. I knew Bruce. I met him a few times, but I said, "Hey, Bruce, Jon Bon Jovi's out there," and then he really didn't know John, but he knew of him. And I said, "He really wanted to do a tune, with you. You think we could, go back?" And Butch looked at his watch. He goes, "You got time?" And then Bruce goes, "Yeah, man, I can't do Bruce." "Yeah, man, no problem if the band wants to." So I had to go back and ask the band if they would go back on it. And we're like, "Sure." So Bruce Springsteen, Jon Bon Jovi, and a couple guys in the E Street Band and a band called Cats on a Smooth Surface all walked back through the crowd, going crazy, and got on stage. And then one of the guys from from the band, Cats on a Smooth Surface, he the keyboard player, he waved me up. He's like, "Come on up." So I jumped up, and sure enough, there we were, Bruce Springsteen, Jon Bon Jovi, and me right across the front singing. you know? So it was a great night. It was a cool night. And John got to meet him afterwards and started talking to him. And I think that's how they began to communicate, was that night.
Was that night? What do you think it
Yeah.
is about the allure of the Stone Pony? For anybody watching who's not maybe in the tri-state area or what have you, and they hear so much about the Stone Pony, what do you think it is about that place that just has this magic to it, this legend to it?
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. I think the heyday, it's still I mean, it's still a place to play. I don't know. Great question. It's maybe it's the air in the ocean. I don't know what it is, but it
Right?
seems it's just it's been so many. I've been on that stage so many times and opened up for many big acts, on there, including recently we opened up for Squeeze. It's an old band, but it was packed, and they have the outside thing now. Now they have an outside literal concert venue. It holds like 2,000-3,000 people outside, and then the inside holds about 800. It has a big stage inside. So they have the outside stage and they have the inside stage. So it's gotten bigger. And legend, I guess, if you Springsteen and the Jukes, Asbury Jukes and Springsteen and Steven Van Zandt, I think that those guys were the ones that really brought it to life back in the, I think, 70s, the mid 70s. There's a documentary on Van Zandt, and it explains a lot about how that went down and how that got so big. But yeah, it's amazing how it kept its magic all these years, even through different owners.
Through different owners as well. And like you
Yeah,
said, it has that whole summer stage
yeah.
atmosphere too, where they've really expanded it, which is something
There you go. Yeah,
there. Yeah, I mean, that's all expanded in the later years, and look at the kind of crowds that they get there. But you've performed there, and that
yep.
feather in your cap as well. You the stories in the book are really something. It's a real page turner, and like I mentioned, musicians idolize you, songwriters. You're responsible for a lot of music. You're a multi-instrumentalist. You're a good guy. You've worked with so many
I
others,
know
and
about that.
you've done your thing.
Mhm.
Well, I talked to mom, and that's what
Oh,
she
thank you.
faxed me that this morning. She said, "Read
Excellent.
this verbatim, or else." I'm from New
Okay.
Jersey, not me, him,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
mother. Read it, or else. No, it's just something where to be in this kind of an industry with this longevity and doing the things that you've done, selling the fish off the pickup truck, selling the cookies door to door, whatever, to be able to put yourself through and get going and then work with others. It's not an easy thing. So it is a feather in your cap to be able to continue to do it, to talk about it, and then to be able to write about it. The
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
undiscovered showman. What was the inspiration and what was the writing process like? A lot of material, a lot of incredible stories for anybody that's watching now and learning about this for the very first time. It's a lifelong pursuit and has been for our very special guest, Wayne, in the rock and roll industry. And that pursuit for rock and roll stardom, it's filled with advice, success, disappointment, betrayal, and encounters with top industry executives, fellow celebrities, including a revealing 17-year close friendship, as we talked about with Jon Bon Jovi, one of the world's biggest rock superstars. What was it about it where you wanted to write it, you wanted to detail it and share it with all of us? And congratulations on it.
Thanks, Jim. It was, like I said, it was an ongoing thing. I started it back in 2004, I think. I was, I used to go to parties and talk to a bunch of people at parties or rehearsals, and I would tell stories, and everybody's like, "Man, you got some cool stories. You should write a book." So I was like, "You know what? Maybe I will." Just to get it out of my head. Maybe it was probably, looking back now that you asked me, I would think maybe it was um good mentally for myself to just get it all out in a book, because it's like,
Therapeutic and cathartic,
that's the
right?
word I was looking for. Therapeutic, yes, thank you. Yeah, I think now that you said that, it was because, and another thing is, my daughter's down in Nashville, and she's a singer-songwriter down there, and she said to me one time when she was going to college, she's like, "I want to drop out of college and be a musician." I said, "No, no, no, no. Get your nursing degree and get a job." And thank God she did. But it's like I think the book is something that there's a lot of advice in there to anyone who's either coming up the ladder or trying to think about it. And it's like, what does it take? Like when I look back on all the stuff that I've didn't do, like, I go to my high school reunion, you go to your 20-year reunion or whatever, and one guy's like a brain surgeon, and the other guy's like uh, head of a CEO of a company, and and I'm still, you know, doing sales and trying to make music. It's like you give up a lot. You gotta want it. I mean, you really gotta want it. It's like you gotta almost give up everything, and just if you're gonna pursue it the right way. I didn't get married till I was 39 because I said to myself, as soon as you get married, that's it. You're done.
Don
Like
Rickles didn't get married till he was 38.
there
So
you go.
you're in good company.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the guys in the band along the way, it's in the book too. Guys in the band along the way would go, "Hey man, I'm getting married." And I'd be like, "See ya." He's like, "No, no, no, man, I'm good. I swear." That 6 months later, sure enough, my wife won't let me play anymore. I gotta go get a job.
To
It's
pack
like,
it in.
yeah. So, I did take a hiatus. We got married and for like 6 or 8 years, maybe a little more, bought a house, had a kid, and I just kind of dropped out. And then I towards the end of the marriage, I kind of rebooted myself and ended up probably doing more afterwards than I had throughout my whole life before that, as far as success with writing songs and getting music and TV and movies and stuff. So it was a very cool thing that I went back in and I hit it hard, and I'm still at it. So
Did you
it
ever
was
get
really
into
great.
the, film scoring, jingles, commercial work, any of that world with
Oh
your
yeah.
music?
Yeah, along the way, we had a Kool-Aid commercial. I did, a couple we did a me and Gar is in the book. Gar's my partner for life, pretty much on and off. We had a jingle company for a while. I didn't even put that in there, I think now that I'm thinking about it. Well, we
I
we
love
did local.
jingles. I think they need
Yeah,
to bring them back.
local jingles. We did a lot of local stuff like
Yeah.
David's Bridal and all these little
Oh, yeah,
stores and
David
stuff.
Bridal, yeah.
David's Bridal, we did one for them. We did one for the Somerset Patriots baseball team. We had one of those. We had a bunch, and we also had a couple songs. We had a theme song we wrote for a movie called "Gone for the Weekend." I think it's on Amazon Prime now. They used our song for the theme song. Gar has a lot of television. There was a couple things with what's was the name of it? Navy SEALs and a few other TV stuff.
That's great
Um,
stuff, huh?
so yeah, it doesn't happen that often. Like it's not something that we went after full time because we always had the band. But every once in a while you'll hear your song played somewhere, you know, and then you look on you get a check from like Sounds Exchange or BMI,
Mhm.
like, oh, that
Well, that's
they
happening a
played.
lot now, right? Like, it used to
Yeah,
be that when you heard a lot of commercials or what have you, they would have specific production music that was created and session musicians would come in and play whatever that is. Now they're using a lot of past songs, hit
a lot.
songs, even in the medicine commercials during the
Yeah, I
evening
know.
news. You have
Ozempic.
diabetes? Well, listen to this song from the '70s.
Yeah. Oh, 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 Ozempic or something like
Right,
that.
exactly.
Like,
It's
it's
like
like, oh my God. And then,
anybody that's under a certain age will say, oh, that's cool. That would make a great song."
yeah,
Well, it
yeah,
did.
yeah. It was a big hit. And I heard the guy singing that particular song is the same one that wrote it.
Oh, that I didn't
The
know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a couple other
It
ones
makes
too.
sense, it does
Yeah,
sound right.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Tell
it's
us about your band too. You have, the new you like you
the
said
New Bardos.
yeah, the
The
new
New Bardos
Bordeaux.
is a great band. I love the New Bardos, or as the Alexa would call us, the New Bardots.
The Bardots.
Yeah. You ask Alexa to play the New Bardos, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything by the New Bardos, but here's something by the New Bardots."
The Bardots were what you
Yeah,
were in the beginning when you
yeah,
were coming of age and sharing a beer or two, you were Bardots, but
that's
now
it.
you're Bardos.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the name and tell us about the history of it?
Gar came up with the name. He liked Bridget Bardot a lot. So
Okay, yeah.
he's like, let's call ourselves the
The new
Bardots.
Bordeaux's,
Yeah,
yeah.
so well, the Bardos, and then we researched the name because you have to do that, and then there was a Bardos, a very famous band called the Bardos down in Australia. They had a bunch of albums out and stuff. So we called ourselves the New Bardos, a little, to get around the legality of it. And that happened 6 years ago, I think. About 6 years ago, we started the Bardos, and we all original band. Dan Sky from my old Oliver's Twist is the bass player. And Gar's playing guitar. I was in a copy band called Little Jimmy and the Starlights, doing some stuff, and the keyboard player John Crute is playing keyboards with the Bardos, and so is the drummer John Rago. So now the great thing about the new Bardos is our bass player Dan Sky, who's like a brother from another mother, owns a recording studio. So the Bardos are a recording band. We have a lot of material out there. I think we're on our third album.
Well,
We're working on our fourth full length album.
yeah, released multiple LPs,
Yep.
EPs, singles, and the music video Corporation
Oh,
Businessmen won 17 awards globally, including a bronze medal at the Cannes Continental Film Festival. And the latest LP, Turn Your Head and Cough, features chart-topping singles like Thrill of the Night and Policy of Truth. So you've been really garnering lots
yeah.
of fanfare, huh?
Yeah, see back there, all those trophies. That's for uh Corporation Businessman. All along the way, I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of video work. I did camera work. I've edited. So I have really good friends in the industry. So when we do a lot of videos. We try to. I try and I direct them. Now, Corporation Businessman, for some reason, it was one of those videos that just one of those ones that came out really great. We used a green screen, um, and I decided to put it into some film festivals. So I started entering it in film festival, and it kept winning. So the best video, best video, best video. So and then I entered it in Cannes, the Continental one, and it came in second. So we got a lot of great things with that. I still get calls from people, the film festivals that want us to submit stuff, but that was like a phase. But it was really great to get a little recognition for directing and having a music video, especially in today's world where
Mhm.
people spend like $50,000 on a video. I think we spent
Right.
$1,000 on ours.
Which is what it's some
You know,
That's
so
it. It's
but
not always,
yeah,
the window
you,
dressing, it's the content, right?
yeah, and you got to know what if you get a green screen, like I said, my friend, I got to give kudos to Larry Gresh and Rich Hall, my buddies who shot it. They have they have their own green screen. There's a place where I live down the street. There's a school called the Ducre School of Art, and the guy Tim O'Connor over there. Anytime I want to use the big rooms, they got these giant rooms and stages and stuff. He lets me use it, so I'm very lucky, that I could pull off a video shoot for like $500. Just pay my buddies a couple
Let's
hundred
do
bucks
it.
a piece, and we have a couple beers and take them out to dinner.
And then
You
that's
know,
good, exactly.
yeah.
Feeds the soul for sure.
Yeah, and
When
then
you were
editing.
then with the editing too.
Yeah.
When you were, doing the Stone Pony as, the band a regular there, you also shared stages with acts like David Johansen, Huey Lewis, and Billy Idol, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
performing with Bruce Springsteen too. What was that like working with some of those other guys too, legends in the industry?
Well, I didn't really get to know Billy Idol or, David Johansen that much, except maybe in the back room at the time. Like, you meet him and you talk to him and you go on stage, but Huey Lewis was I got a chance to spend, like, 3 days with him, 'cause, he was, doing a thing called, the sports section, and what that was it was him under an assumed name to try out new material, and he was working the Stone Pony. So I got a call from, not only did we open up, but we got a call from, Butch, the owner, said, "Hey, can you the record company wants somebody to show Huey a good time because he's here for 3 days." And he goes, "They're gonna pay you $300 a day." And I'm like, I'll do it." So I ended up, hanging out with the band and Huey. We actually played 18 rounds of golf together, for 3 days. And it was like, he was a great guy. Like, he was on stage and he was like, they wanted to have a party in his room, so he would be like, "Hey, Wayne," he goes, I'm gonna point to the girls. I want you to tell them to come to our party." So he'd be on stage, and I'd be in the audience. He'd be going like, let me shake his head. I'd say, "We're having a party at room 4 at the Berkeley Carteret after the show," and then we ended up having a party at his room after the show. So he was a great guy. I loved him. Real good guy, and it was fun. It was like I said, it was just for me to meet celebrities. It's not there. He is. For me to meet celebrities, I don't get starstruck, which is why I think Butch told him that recommended me to do the gig, because being with John all those years and stuff, it really doesn't. Well, celebrities want to be just talked to normally. They don't want to be.
I don't always.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly,
you
'cause they
hit them
wanna
up. I'm sure
wanna be able to shop at the supermarket and do what they have
Yeah,
to do, go to the post office and
yeah. Like just talk to them like a normal person, and they'd appreciate it. There's David. Yeah, my hair is pretty long there. David's a cool guy too. I run into David every once in a while still.
that's a
He's
cool
he's
shot.
he's
Yeah.
funny. There he is. That's Eddie and Ricky Byrd. Ricky Byrd is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame along with Eddie's. That's my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Talking
sandwich.
about the Rascals too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. Good. That's a great group. I mentioned too that I had a chance to meet Felix
There he is. Yeah.
Olivieri, Felix from the Rascals at an event not that long ago. Really nice guy. I mean, they're still out doing their thing. It's
Yeah.
amazing, these groups, and there's like a resurgence happening. People want things that they remember that make them feel good from earlier years, because the world right now is so crazy and disconnected, and all the technology and just all the fighting and disagreeing and all the you know pandemics and all the stuff that we've gone through, and they're hankering for the Dick Van Dyke Show and music that made them feel good from the past, right? They're looking for things that. Are you finding that as well?
Yeah, I think so. It's you look at what's going on with well, maybe it's because of our an age thing where maybe somebody that's say 45, 50 and up really can't relate to the music that's out there now, with and I'm one of them. So maybe the old music, the acts that have, everybody was in love with when they were young are still around and they're playing. So there's a resurgence of fans, which brings the groups back because that means they can go out and, make some money and probably just get that energy back. I think it has a lot to do with the music of today, and I think it has a lot to do with an age group. Like 50 years old. 50 years ago was old, or 60. Now, 60 is the new 30. I think
Mhm.
that has a lot to do with it. How people are staying younger and more fit. And there's just, I think they get bored. They want something to do, and their bands are playing again, so they're all coming back out. And I think it helps the whole full circle thing.
Absolutely. Southside Johnny, of course, another one too.
Yeah.
Tell us about any interactions with him over the years.
He was always at the Stone Pony. That whole group at Southside. His one of his drummers, Phil Florio, was my drummer for a little while after his band. So Southside, I'm Jon Bon Jovi was in Southside Johnny for a whole summer because that's another one of his dreams. He always wanted to be a juke, you know. So they went on a tour, and I was with them on a few of the stops. So I get to know Southside and through John more than anybody else. But he's a nice guy. He liked his drink. Southside did, but nice guy, nice guy.
Like I said, the book is written with a lot of heart and a lot of authenticity and a lot of truthfulness. But you do, open up and reveal everything from joy to sorrow to disappointment to betrayal to uh, inspiring moments. How did you decide you wanted to open up, reveal it all, and share it all with everybody? And tell us more about some of the things that are in the book that would really surprise people, intrigue people, and maybe even inspire them too along the way.
Well, there was a lot of ups and downs in the business. You know this, but there was a lot of times. Well, if you read the book, the main from a time I was little till even now, it's like you want to make it. You want to get to the top of the ladder and grab that star. You know what I mean? So all through the book, it's the same themes. Like I'm going to get a record deal. Because back in the day, not so much now today in the 2020s, but back in the day, you got a record deal. That was up until not too long ago. The only thing you could do is there wasn't a lot of independent albums. You had to get a record. There's a lot of record companies. There was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 record companies. So it was get a record deal, get a record deal, get a record deal, get a record deal. And all through my career, that's what we were trying to do. And a couple of times, the extreme get this close to where like a record executive, it's in the book, would say, I really like this. I'm going to give you a record deal. And you're going like, finally, somebody sees that what I see.
Mhm.
And then they go, this particular one was out in LA. And I said, okay, I'll bring the band to LA. And this was back before the internet. And he's like, no, we have an office in New York. Just set up a thing in New York and we'll come and see you, and I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll get it together. So I went out. We got what they call a showcase, and we hired SIR Studios, this big studio, brought in lights and sound, and
been there. Yeah.
I even brought in a bartender, like I was gonna, and I invited all these record companies, including I think it was Arista, to come. The guy from LA, and we were all excited. We even took a limo in. We were real excited. We thought this was going to be it. Oliver's Twist was the name of the band. And we get there and we're waiting. We're supposed to go on at like 7 or something. 7 o'clock comes, nobody comes. 0, not one person. And 7:30.
Not even a cousin? Or?
No, just whoever was with us coming to girlfriends. And long story short, it ended up one guy came. There was a music lawyer. His name was Clayton Knowles. I'll never forget. Real nice guy. Ended up doing some work with him, and nobody else showed up. And it was just like devastating, it was devastating, but we didn't care. We just went out and partied, used the rest of the limo time. Then next day we're like, well, F him. They're idiots anyway. And we moved along. That's another thing that you have to learn to do. It's like the old cliche, fall off the horse, touch yourself up and get back on the horse. That seemed, I fell off a lot of horses, but I'm okay. I'm totally happy where I am, and we're doing okay. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that was devastating. Another devastating thing happened. It's in the book. It was, I think it was John Eddy was the name of the guy. He had a record deal, Columbia, and he was using Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band as his backup band. And Bruce was coming. All the record executives from Columbia were going to be there. All who's who of the record industry at that time in that circle of people were going to be at this particular club. And we were opening up. So Oliver's Twist. And I'm like, this is it. This is our chance. This is the big one. We're going to perform in front of these guys, and this is going to be great, Well, my guitar player, who wrote all the songs with me and was an intimate part of the band. Like without him, you're not playing. Well, he wasn't there. He didn't get there. And he missed sound check. I don't know, starting to worry. Like, this is back before cell phones. Okay. Long story short, he never showed up.
Because you were the payphone guy.
I was the payphone guy. There was payphones, but no cell phones.
You made sure those cell phones didn't come out till at least you paid a few bills.
92, 93. Actually, cell phones didn't really come out till like what, in late middle.
First,
90s,
they had those big car phones.
Yeah,
remember?
they're real big ones. Yeah, like the World War II walkie-talkies. But yeah, so he never showed up. So what happened was he was in the parking lot and had a panic attack or acute stage fright. And went home, and that was it. so that's kind of.
Did you ever have that? Did you ever get stage fright, or did you ever have where you just were getting those butterflies in the stomach about a certain? They always say that it's actually a good thing, not panic attacks, but when you do have those butterflies in your stomach, when you're about to do something big that's important, whether it's a performance or anything where you got to go out there in front of the world and make your magic. And it's when those butterflies don't appear anymore, you've lost the passion, you've lost the interest and the drive. The butterflies are what keep you spry and keep you excited about striving for the best. If those butterflies disappear, time to move on. You're no longer passionate. Does that work the same for you, Wayne?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to this day, if we're gonna do a live show, excuse me, yeah, you get a little butterflies. I never had them to the point where it was devastating to me, but all the time, you're 100% correct. If you're now that you said that, yeah, if you didn't have them, it would be what fun would it be? So I think you're right. I've never, I've enjoyed. It's an excitement kind of thing, you know. I never really if there was a certain song that I knew that I had to hit a certain note that was really hard to hit, and I knew I wasn't in good voice, then I would have a little bit, I'd be a little hesitant as far as my confidence level would be. Um, which happened a few times, but there's tricks to that. You just don't hit the note. Nobody knows any better anyway, especially with original songs. But that would sometimes cross my mind and get a little negative in there, and you'd go on stage with a little animosity, weird, weirdness. But once the music starts and your adrenaline's going and the crowd's there, it goes right away. It comes, it's like riding a bike. It comes back right away.
Mm-hmm. Did
Yeah.
when did you start realizing the business side of it? You talked about how Jon Bon Jovi was so early on in tune with the fact that it's the business of show. When did you start to realize that too and sort of focus on that?
Like I kind of always ran the band. Like when you have a band, there's always somebody running things. Somebody's getting the gig, somebody's talking to the agent. That was me. Like when Rockids started playing the club circuit. For those of out there who don't know, back in I think in 19 way back, the drinking age in New Jersey went from 21 to 18. I think it started in 73 and went all the way to 1982. But back in those in that period of time, there was a club on every corner. I mean, Rock Kids, we were working 6 nights a week, possibly 7, sometimes, and it wasn't just like you see now, bands, they move a couple of tables and they play. No, we had a full truck of equipment, 24-foot truck with sound man, a light man, a follow spot operator, a stage manager. When it was a rock show, it was, and it's 6 nights a week. I mean, they had incredible amount of equipment. Our PA system was as big as my wall back of me, and every night there was a packed house. There was kids all the time. It was drinking ages 18. Monday night didn't matter. It was packed. So we were working 6-7 nights a week. We had an agent, and we had press, we had management. So I was running things that way with through the business end that way. But that being said, I was still partying afterwards a lot. So you know during the 80s, I guess with Oliver Twist, I got a little bit more hep to the scene as far as dealing with the types, like the record industry types, because you couldn't trust anybody. I mean, they would tell you things and you'd walk out thinking you had her deal, and then next thing you know, they wouldn't answer the phone when you call them back. So you learn slowly but surely. And I guess now, the past maybe 10 years, 15 years, I'm way more up on that game than I ever was. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
lot older and wiser, as you say. But back then when we were playing a lot, you kind of had to have it together. But we did have an agent, and I ran the crew and I paid the band and I talked to the club owners. I was the guy who went in the back and got paid. But that's kind of easy to do when some of the club owners are crazy. I don't know if you know any club owners, but so there's one guy in particular. I remember we had the same birthday, and he always hired our band to play because it was the same birthday. And at the end of the night, he wouldn't pay me until we finished off the bottle of Jack Daniels together. He actually had a gun, and he took it out one birthday night. We set up bottles and we were literally firing this gun, tiger inside this club. True story. How crazy it was. But
The book really is, like I said, it's a true page turner, at every level. And
lots
what's
of
great,
pictures too.
a lot of pictures
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is really great. And you're really giving readers, Wayne, in The Undiscovered Showman, a backstage pass to your 4-decade journey, really careening through the music industry and offering this unvarnished look at the realities of the music business, from the highs of performing for thousands to the lows of broken promises and near misses with fame. And it is your memoir chronicling your life, your journey from the middle class upbringing in North Plainfield, New Jersey, through the thousands of gigs and hundreds of recorded songs, countless brushes with stardom. And for you, you really want it to be a cautionary tale and an inspiration for anyone who's pursuing their dreams in any form of the entertainment
Mhm.
industry, right?
Correct. I mean, acting for like well, we were talking before. For every rock star, for every movie star, there's probably tens of thousands of people with probably a lot of them with better or at least equal talent. Trying to get to where they are. So it's the book is dedicated to everybody that's going through it or have been through it. If you've been through it, and there's different levels too, Jim. Like, I mean, when we were coming up in the bands, you'd have people that would play. Next thing you know, they get a girlfriend, and next thing you know, they get a job and they would be out. It's the ones that have the fire and the passion that don't give a crap about nothing but getting to where they're going. They have the blinders on. Those are the only people that have a shot at it. Not saying you're going to get there, but if you don't have that kind of a blinders and that's what you want, if you're going over here and you're going over here and you just, you're at it half-ass, it's not going to happen. Even if you do have the blinders on and you're laser focused, there's no guarantee.
But it takes a lot of sacrifice to be so focused, right? Other things in your world, you can't put as much focus on like maybe other people could or would or might, because you have to be that determined. We've had a couple of actors, a lot of actors who've come through the show. One thing I'll ask is, what would you say to somebody else who's watching you here on the show and knows of your great success and everything else? The funny thing is, you'll have veteran people from Hollywood and elsewhere who will say, I'll say, what do you think was that defining moment for you, that big break or the door opening moment? And they'll say, I'm still waiting for that. Even though they've been on, the
Yeah.
biggest stages, TV shows, movies, they're still, but a lot of times, they'll say like, well, look, if you want to do any of these kinds of careers, you have to be in it 110%. If you're half, 50%, they want to be the performer, however it is, acting, singing, whatever it may be, broadcasting. Um, but the other half of you is interested in being an accountant.
Right.
Become the accountant, because you have to be 100% in, not 50%, right?
Yeah, you could still be the accountant, but your head can't be there. You got to, if you have to have a job to make ends meet, you got to do what you got to do. But you can't you got to make your focus on your creativity the main focus. Otherwise, speaking of acting, I love acting. I'm not that good at it, but I've dabbled in that too. So I can relate a little bit that way.
Is that
But yeah,
something
you're right.
you'd like to dabble more into?
Yeah, I loved it. It's really
There's
great.
a
I mean,
little dabble, do you?
little I don't know if anybody knows what we're talking about, but yeah.
You said I
That's
should have got into comedy. My father told me that. It says,
yeah,
oh, he always says that. You should have got into comedy, Jim.
yeah, yeah. You're funny. You should. Well, it's never too late, Jim. Come
It's
on.
never too late.
Never too. That's
I'm gonna
another thing is
open up for the bar dots.
the bar dots. I'll have you open up for the bar dots. It's great. I'll give you a quick acting story that blew my mind. Okay, I do a lot of background work. Okay, I'm listed in the central casting in New York City, and I'm also in backstage, and I have so I get emails every day, even today, and if there's a big movie that's
Backstage, you'll
shoot
get like 50 a day. I get those too. You get like
yeah.
50 a day from backstage,
Yeah,
right?
so it's spend hours and you put in, you put in, you put in, you put in, and every once in a while it'll pop. Um, 2 quick things. I got a pop from backstage. They were looking for a VO guy, a voiceover guy, to do a public service announcement for New York City, and it was during COVID. I went to a studio. I waited outside. They brought me in, and they got me in the studio. And this is not too long ago. I guess it was right after COVID. I think 3 years ago. And the engineer started doing crazy stuff. Like I was trying to read, he was like farting and then he was burping and he was making all this weird, it turns out um, it was the
Or is
TV
it for
show.
Pepsid AC or something?
No, it was the TV show, Jokers. Um, what's the name of the show? Just went blank. Anyways, a major TV show,
Yeah.
is it was a joke. It was like a Candy Camera kind of show.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
What the heck's the name of it? It'll
Not,
come to me.
the one on ABC, What Would You
Y
Do?
No,
With John Quinones.
no, but this is a national show. It's real
So
huge. The in something Jokers.
yeah,
Anyway,
where they
it'll come
create
to me.
these scenarios and it's how you
Eh,
react to them.
yeah, and they shoot it. But anyway, that was one. Another one, I was doing a background for The Irishman, the movie, and we went out to Randall's Island, and they turned Randall's Island into this Italian festival. It was really cool. There's like maybe 400 extras, and I was looking where the camera was, and I was trying to make my way where the camera might be. So I was standing next to this guy, and they started rolling, and it turned out that he was playing Joe Colombo, and he was getting murdered, and I was standing right next to him. So the guy with the gun would come, boom, boom, and we'd have to react like this, and I was talking to him. It turns out to be Bobby De Niro's body double. But anyway, so we do the scene twice, and Scorsese was directing, and he was in a tent, and he was looking at the monitor, and all of a sudden I see Scorsese coming out of his tent. He's walking towards us, and I figured he's going to talk to Dave, the guy getting shot. Comes right over. Dave's standing next to me, looks me in the face. He goes, I really like your enthusiasm, but your eyes they're way too big. They're too big. He goes, maybe you say. Then he said the F word. He goes, say the F word. He goes, maybe your eyes won't be so big. That'll work. Turns around and he goes back in his tent. Sure enough, we do 3, 4 more takes, and I said the F word like that, and we were done. I was going home, and I said, I'm going to be in this movie, like there's going to be like, I told my girlfriend at the time, and when it came out, we went to the theater in Staten Island because it didn't play that long. It was a Netflix show, but they ran it in the movies. And sure enough, he gets shot and the full screen, at least half of the screen, you see my face like this, like, so that's my big Scorsese directed
But
me,
The Irishman, I mean, that was
Yeah.
something to be a part of, huh?
Yeah,
The
it was
people
cool.
they had in that movie,
Yeah.
all top shelves, really. You mentioned
Yeah, it
De
was good. It was
Niro.
and just, the movie, I don't know if you've been on sets of some of these movies.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I was just on the set of, the new Springsteen movie, and,
What
I
was
was,
that like?
that was huge. They had, it was this November. We were there in November. They recreated I think it was the Dallas State, the Texas State Fair, and they redid it up in Morristown, New Jersey, in a big field. They just recreated it, and I'll probably be in that too because the guy playing Bruce came right by me a couple times. So, as a background actor, you're always trying to get your face in the camera.
And in
But
there, right?
and then the coolest one was when I was on the set for the Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie.
Oh,
They
yeah,
took they
right.
took s they took
Timothy Chalamet and company,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he was cool. They took 4 blocks of, Jersey City, and they turned it into 1965, Village, including Cafe Juana. It blew my mind, when you see what they do to make these movies. And he
Mhm.
was the main character. Timothy was coming out of a cab, and, I played a tattered man. I had a role, tattered man. So we walked right by in the very beginning of the movie. You see me and him crisscrossing like this. So it's like I said, the background that's considered like, hey, you got on screen. So it's
Timothy
cool.
Chalamet is a rising star who's
Yeah.
already risen and continues to rise. It's incredible to see his
Well,
quotient go right up. Timothy Chalamet.
he was telling me, because we got the chance to talk in between takes. Um, Plus, I think he said it on a couple talk shows too. But he was telling me that he did all the singing and the playing himself. But he had 5 years to do it because when they first started shooting that movie, COVID hit, and he had a chance to practice the guitar and really like learn how to sing like Dylan. It's pretty cool. But talk about dedication.
Exactly. And I think Bob Dylan made comments too, positive comments about it, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool. Yeah, it seems like Timothy Chalamet can take on just about anything and roll with it, adapt to it. Willy Wonka, he's been at everything, which is amazing.
Acting seems easy, but hey, man, I tell you,
He's
I had a couple.
focused.
It's
He's
hard.
like laser focused.
Yeah.
Chalamet, he's like really dedicated to it all ever since the days at LaGuardia High School. He just has been very focused on what he wants, which is amazing. He said he wants to be one of the greats, and over
Yeah.
time, which is, like you said, you got to have that focus,
Yeah.
that attitude, that this is what I want to do, and somehow we're going to continue to make it happen through sacrifice and what have you, which is amazing. I determined whenever what will be on your epitaph.
Okay.
It's in the book.
Okay. It's in the book. I like it. Yeah, it's great.
It's in the book.
It's in the book. Get the book. That's a good one. I like
I
it.
was going to
Thank
say,
you.
it's in the book.
Great.
Because when people go and they visit, they're like, "Well, I wonder what his life was like." It's in the book.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I should have a
so
stack of books next
have
to
a
him.
stack
Then,
of books available, pre-signed, of course, I think, unless
Yeah. Well,
you
yeah.
make a return on
Yeah.
Halloween or something. Um, so the books are available at Amazon and places where books are sold. Have you been doing any book signings, things of that nature as well?
I haven't. I want to though. I gotta call my publisher up and see if we could set something up because people keep asking when are you going to do a book signing. So I think soon we'll get something together soon.
That's
So
cool. You got a great
yeah,
website too there. We've been showing that, so people can check
thanks.
it out, which is really, really terrific. And when you look back at everything, what are a few things that are still those continued blessings and joys in your life, Wayne, that keep you wanting to do it all and stay connected and now write about it in your book?
Yeah. The band, the music is still there. Very blessed to still be able to sing. Um, I haven't really lost much in that, like cough here. Excuse me. But still writing and recording that keeps me going. The acting once in a while, if something pops up, I really dig the acting thing. I actually work with a friend of mine, doing some camera work and get behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. But the singing and the recording, we're working on a new LP, as a matter of fact, right now. We just had a newest one released after Turn Your Head and Cough. There was a new one released, Endless Drool, that's out there right now. And then we have another, I think 12 songs we're working on now for another LP, and we'll be doing a video. We're releasing some of the singles off the Endless Drool. That's been charting on the indie charts. I think we're up in the top 10 worldwide. So
Congratulations.
it really keeps me going. The band keeps me going. My daughter, like I said, she's down in Nashville, so she's playing every once in a while. She sends me clips that keeps dad juices flowing, and she's always asking me advice and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
That's
And
definitely
I got a I lucked out. I have the publisher, Headline Books is a great Kathy Teets is a great publisher. She helped with the book a lot. Jeff Johnson from Allen Burke Media, those guys are great. Love
they're
those
great.
guys. And
Yep.
he keeps me going. He always calls me and keeps the fire rolling a little bit. It just started, so we're hoping that the
They're great
momentum's going to
people.
roll a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. They're great people. Some great names you mentioned there. Wayne, this was awesome. This was really a terrific, as we say, not interview, but conversation is what we do here.
Yeah.
Free flowing and unscripted here at the Jim Masters Show. And it was great to go down memory lane a little bit and also hear about some of the cool people you've worked with, the influences you've made in the music industry and the mark you've made, and the things you're working on now, and also celebrating the book as well. I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, Wayne.
Absolutely. No, this is fun, man. You were great. I got to check out. I'm going to check out the rest of your shows. You know,
Yeah.
you've been at it as long as I have, almost. Right? You don't look as old as me.
A long time I've been doing the
Yeah.
television and radio broadcasting, the professional work, and then we started this well, 5 years ago, as of now, as of this date, which is just amazing. Really, it is. And yeah, feel free. There's hundreds of episodes you can binge watch, my friend. And
Yeah, well, you know what, you definitely know what you're doing. I mean, it's been a pleasure. It really has. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
pleasure is all mine. And as my father, with his wit and wisdom, told me when I was 7 years old, you'll appreciate this. He goes, Jimmy, always remember, when somebody says something kind or nice to you, make sure you take the time to thank them for that. Thank them for, expressing those kind words and sharing that with you. Now, I'm 7 years old and he's telling me this sage advice,
Wow.
which today still works. He said, not only to thank them, but ask them to please put those words in writing and address it management.
That's great. I love it.
My Irish
funny.
dad from Astoria, Queens, New York.
There you go. That's so cool. It's funny. I know you want to end it, but every once in a while, people would come up to me and like, over the years, and they would say, "Oh man, you were great," and I didn't really know how to like say anything back. So you just say, and somebody, I think it was Gar, he goes, "Just say thank you," and I go, "That works pretty good." It's like, thank you.
Thank you still works, right?
Yeah.
It still works. It's old school. And
I got to add that though, right? Write me a note and send it to the.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
publisher.
Yeah. Please put it in writing and address it management.
That's great. Oh my
Whoever,
God.
your bosses or management
Yeah.
happen to be, just make sure they get it.
That's a good one. I'm going to use it if you don't mind.
I tell you. Yeah, good stuff, my friend, really. And we say this show has a lot of levity. It's a word that I came up with when I was saying light, love, and levity during the course of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the audience just jumped on that. They said, wow, that's great. So one time I said light, love, and levity, and I said it too fast. And I said, yeah, the show has a lot of light levity, combining love and levity together.
Excellent.
So then the audience went wild and they said, all right, we love this word. You're now Mr. Levity. This is Levity Hall. The guests are part of the Levity family, and we are your Levity squad, Jim.
Excellent.
Just by saying it too fast. Isn't that cool how that works?
That's very cool.
Could use more levity in the world, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really
Are you based in Long Island now?
No, that's where I'm originally from. But yeah, right here in the New York area. Are you performing anywhere? Are you guys performing in the tri-state area?
Unfortunately, we have no dates as of yet, but summer's coming, so we'll probably. I'm just gonna put it out there. Just keep an eye out. We'll probably be at the Stone
Go
Pony.
to your website there.
Keep the website open. We're just like right now we're in the middle of recording, so we're kind of putting the live stuff on.
Plus you got the book and everything.
Got a lot of things going on, but I'm definitely going to be out there. Keep your ears and eyes open.
Absolutely. Good stuff, my friend. Spread the word about the Jim Masters Show.
I will.
Series. We would love that. And this will, be on the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, where all of the episodes are. So you can share the link and everything. We'll have that ready. And then a real pleasure. Come see us again, okay?
Thanks, Jim. I will. Thanks again for having me. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my friend, and congratulations on the book and sharing it in such a raw, real, authentic, and passionate way. It's cool stuff.
It's my pleasure.
All right, you be well, all right?
Peace, brother.
Go stretch those legs and make a sandwich now. That's it.
Get a bagel.
Go get a bagel.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk soon. Be well.
Bye, buddy. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Wayne Olivieri here. Wayne is amazing, right? It's so great to have Wayne with us and so great to have you with us as well. Gang, if you enjoyed this episode, hey, do something really cool. And that is give this episode a thumbs up like on our YouTube channel. Yes. And that is by just giving it a thumbs up and sharing this episode on your social media, sharing the YouTube link as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, where we have all of these celebrated guests from Broadway, Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, sports, comedy, culinary arts, all aspects of life and different celebrity levels as well. A real pleasure having Wayne with us, and we want to show that book again. It's really cool stuff. Great reading. The Undiscovered Showman. Yeah, a true story of being almost famous. He's just humble about it. Really cool. And they have great stories about, knowing Jon Bon Jovi and the story about Huey Lewis and so many others that he's had an opportunity to know and work with. But he himself and his band, the New Bardos, are really cool. So if you do get a chance to find out about tour dates and performances and things of that nature, or just check out their music, of course, where to go for the music, Spotify and all those places as well. Go check it out and enjoy. Your host, Jim Masters, here, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, inviting you to come see us again here. And also, don't forget, we're on social media. Come see us and say hi on Facebook, X, and Instagram. All there at Jim Masters TV. And if you like this episode, come see us again. We'll keep the porch light on for you here at Loveday Hall at the Jim Masters Show. Really cool guest, really great guy, and a terrific conversation. Open and real. He's based there in New Jersey, USA, where he's from. And it's so good that he made good and shares the story with all of us. You guys be well. We'll talk to you soon, okay? This is your host, Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, as we always say, don't forget to take care of one another, love one another. Don't forget to do the very same for yourself. And we'll keep the porch light on for you as well right here at the Jim Masters Show. Talk soon. See you on the next one. Bye-bye. Cheers.